everyone, it's Jack and Sam from Cultaholic.com, and we are very excited right now because it's nearly AEW Full Gear, which is taking place on this Saturday. Nearly said Sunday, but Saturday. We will be reacting, and then the reactions will be out at a later date. It's not a live stream, but we will react to the show. The punishment for this one involves Sam's previous punishment that he hasn't done yet, but we definitely are going to do.
Yes.
Night in the Woods Part 2. Now, if I lose, I'm going to have to join you for Night in the Woods.
That'll be all right.
Yeah.
A little camp out.
Yeah, but if you lose, then somehow it's going to be made worse for you. We haven't decided how.
There's no way to make it worse. It's almost like December.
There are ways to make it worse because we're leaving it in the hands of you, the Cultaholic fans. So if Sam loses, there will be 3 options on patreon.com/Cultaholic, and then you'll be able to vote for in which way Sam's punishment is made worse. If we draw, I'll join you and it'll be made worse. Yeah, who knows? So yes, let's crack on with some tasty predictions. And of course, if any matches are announced on the night, I guess we'll just call it on the night as it happens. Well. Let's start off with the only so far announced match for the pre-show, Dr. Britt Baker versus B. Priestley. Who have you got and why?
I feel like they're cooling off on Britt Baker a bit. So, and I think the momentum there for B needs to keep growing. Because, you know, she's nasty and she's horrible and she needs some sneaky, awful victories, so I've gone for B. It's a pre-show match. I don't think it damages Britt Baker too much to lose to B.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go for B.
I'm going to go for B as well. I think they've been teasing this one for a while in tag matches and that sort of thing. Yeah. They've always been kind of itching to get at each other. And I think the most effective thing to do is to have B. Priestley pick up the first win, and then somewhere down the line, Britt Baker, as the the good old babyface, can get her revenge. But I haven't really thought about it on too deeper a level than that. So I just think simple storytelling. Heel gets the first win, and then later on somehow Britt will get her revenge. So I'm going for B. Priestley.
Unless B keeps beating her, and then she goes all heel and she starts putting like full headgear braces on people.
Yes, all that. But either way, B. Priestley is my prediction, and yours as well.
Next up, we have Shawn Spears versus Joey Janela. Jack, who have you got and why?
This one's a little bit tricky because there's not been as much build to this one. It's been quite a hastily thrown together one. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm going to quite confidently predict Shawn Spears just because I was really shocked when Cody beat him. And it's all made sense since because Cody's been built up to be the #1 contender and everything. But I was really shocked at the time because I thought, here he comes, Shawn Spears. He's the next big heel. He's going to be the first big monster heel of the company, apart from Jericho, of course. And instead he lost, and I think that took a lot of his thunder away from him.
Yeah.
So now I think they're going to have to give him that win back. So I'm going for Shawn Spears. I also think maybe the ladder stipulation of this match, a hardcore one or something, because it's Joey Janela and Shawn Spears has got that chair. But who have you got and why?
I've gone for Shawn Spears as well. It just makes the most sense, doesn't it? You can feed Joey Janela to him, and it's just... It's weird because in my head they don't roll in the same circles as competitors.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for Spears, who's more like a direct-driven wrestler, to beat Joey Janela, who's a bit more of a scrappy guy.
Yeah.
And again, Joey Janela already has credentials. It doesn't matter if he loses to Shawn Spears. He's hard as F.
Yeah, he's one of those rare wrestlers who can take a loss and it means absolutely nothing because he fears nought him.
Fears no man.
No. Next up, the first title match we're going to talk about on this video for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The champions, SCU, taking on the team they beat in the final of the tag team tournament, the Lucha Brothers, taking on the third place team who won kind of a playoff this week on AEW Dynamite, the Private Party. So SCU versus the Lucha Bros versus the Private Party. Sam, who have you gone for and why?
They've just got the belts. They ain't dropping them this quick. And if they do, it'll be a bit like, whoa, WCW 2001, calm down. So, SCU, that's my pick.
I think that it's also going to be SCU, but I'm not quite as confident as you, just because I was really shocked when the Lucha Brothers didn't win the belts.
Well, this is the only thing, is like Lucha Brothers, they were sort of promised. They were the ones that everybody was like, sort of, they're going to be the guys.
Yeah, but I think in giving SCU the first belts, excuse me, or making them the first title holders, I think they could be like, that's always an accolade they'll have. It's like, well done Kazarian and Scorpio, you've always been the first ones to hold the belts. But now the Lucha Brothers are going to take over and really be the first dominant set of champions. But I'm not confident enough in that theory to predict Lucha Brothers just yet. I'm agreeing with you and going for the slightly more conservative decision of going for SCU.
The thing is, once you put it on Lucha Brothers, then that's the end game, because then it just becomes a game of hot potato between Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks for a while. Because I think that's sort of the feud that will carry those belts forward a little bit in the future. But I don't think any of the other teams have quite
Okay.
stepped up to that point where it could
Private
be
Party
that
aren't quite there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense too. So we've both gone for SCU.
Yes.
But I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go for SCU as well.
Next up, we have the Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz. Jack, who have you got and why?
I am gonna go for Santana and Ortiz. I know the Young Bucks are often presented as really strong.
Yeah.
It was a big shock when they lost to the Private Party, and I think it would make a lot of sense, or it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world if they didn't lose for quite a while now because they lost to the Private Party. But at the same time, Santana and Ortiz, you know, they're members of this big new heel stable. I feel like they might want to present them as a threat straight out of the gate, as they have been doing. And I know that they've been getting the better of the Young Bucks. They attacked the Rock and Roll Express, and then they disguised as fans and attacked the Young Bucks. Everything seems to be built up to set up for the Young Bucks kind of quelling the threat of them and basically getting their own back. But I think they're going to try and make Santana and Ortiz look really strong. So I'm going to stick with that and say that Santana and Ortiz are going to win. But it's one of my more shaky ones. What about you?
I think while the Young Bucks have been very selfless, putting a lot of people over and making everybody look amazing, time's come to cash the check. I don't think many of the Elite are going to win, and I think the Young Bucks is a nice, easy victory you can have here. It doesn't need to be a definitive win. It can be just a scraped by win, so the Inner Circle doesn't look too weak. But I think the Young Bucks might win here for a feel-good moment for what I think is going to be a bit of an empire of a show.
And a bit of an empire of a show? What do you mean?
It's just going to sort of end on like a...
Oh, right. Oh, I see. I see what you mean. I get it now. Good. I don't understand the joke.
Empire Strikes Back.
Oh! Star Wars? I was thinking of the magazine. I was thinking of... Oh.
Wow.
Sorry, everyone. Let's do the next one. Next up, the match for the AEW Women's Championship. The champion, Riho, taking on her challenger and mentor, which I learned this week on AEW, Emi Sakura, aka Freddie Mercury. Sam, who have you got and why?
Now, while Freddie Mercury is responsible for some bangers, some absolute bangers, Riho has, again, only just sort of won the belt. This is the problem with a lot of my predictions is, well, they're not going to take the belt off them this early, but at the same time, they got to do something. So I was in two minds, but I think I'm going to keep it on Riho. I think I'm going to go with Riho. I think it makes the most sense to sort of build her up. Apparently she's very popular with like the younger audience. Like a lot of people getting behind her big time, so it makes sense to, you know, get all those people in to watch Riho. I agree with you. I'm going to go for Riho as well. I do see what you're saying though about excuse me again. I do see what you're saying about all of the bangers,
Freddie Mercury having bangers and it being difficult because this is their first pay-per-view after all these belts have been introduced. What are they going to do? But I think there's other ways they can bring in shocks that don't have to be title changes. There could be a surprise debut, there could be a swerve or two. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a title change heavy show to be an incident heavy show. But at the same time, it does also have me thinking, where's the title change going to come? But I'm going to go for Riho as well. And I think out of the three title matches, this is the one I'm most confident in predicting as the champion retaining the title. I think Riho's really good, and I think that having a win over her teacher and a more experienced wrestler is actually going to...
It's like a passing of the torch.
Slightly, and then we'll see who they build up next to face her, because I don't think this is going to be a title change in the slightest. This is going to be so silly if Emi Sakura just batters her and just takes her.
Elbow. Foot on chest. 1, 2, 3.
They've been building her up all along.
Next up we have Pac versus Hangman Adam Page. Jack, who have you gone for and why?
Now you were angry at me in one of our previous AEW predictions for going against Geordie Pack at All Out because I'm from Newcastle.
Yeah, you're betraying your homeboy.
By law, we have to, pick Pac. And I was actually punished for that because he did beat Kenny Omega pretty swiftly, actually. So I'm going to go for Pac this time. I know that Full Gear started off as a joke involving Hangman Page on being the Elite.
Yes.
And that, to me, I think that wrestlers who have shows named after them, like some of the In Your Houses and stuff, often... The wrestler whose name has been lent to the show's title, like In Your House D-Generation X, I think Shawn Michaels lost, I think The Rock lost at Rock Bottom, I think Hangman Page is going to lose at Full Gear. Matt Hardy lost at Delete WCPW. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to stick with that and say that Pac's going to win and Hangman's going to lose at the event, which was spawned by his own in-joke. Sam?
Well, this all started back when Pac had to bow out of the match, right?
Yes, in Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, which quite heavily lent to the fact that he was maybe supposed to lose. But I think the way things have developed now quite nicely, I don't think Pac's going to lose. I think Hangman Page, I think is going to go not on a bit of a losing streak, but I think Pac is going to maybe prove to be a bit of a nemesis, somebody that he can't quite beat.
The Raven.
Eventually, like, he's able to do it.
The Raven to his Dreamer.
Yes.
Yes, fair enough. And then it'll be a bigger moment when Hangman beats. Yes. Right. Agreed. Your reason makes more sense than mine. Here we go. Next up, I disagreed with Sam in the order that the show's going to go before he raised a very valid point, which is that the unsanctioned match could well go on last because it's unsanctioned and they turn the lights out on that.
Apparently, it's like lights go down.
Yeah.
They said that it's sort of, because they're not promoting it, why would it be on the card?
It's still on their pay-per-view. But so we'll go for the AEW title match now, but stay tuned because there's one more match left.
Ooh.
So we're going to go for Chris Jericho defending the title against Cody, with the caveat that if Cody does not win, he can never again challenge for the AEW World Championship. Now, before I ask you, Sam, I was convinced that Jericho was going to win, and then today or this week in AEW, that's thrown me for a bit of a loop, that stipulation. I'm a bit concerned.
It's because Cody might not be able to challenge for it ever again, but Cody Rhodes can.
I thought you were going to say Stardust can, and he'll come out and do the whole thing, and then everyone's like, yeah! Right, okay. I
got to go with Chris Jericho. Like, the problem here is that he's the champion. Yeah, he's fairly recently crowned champion. And then on top of that, he's now got a stable of people around him. So any loss for him sort of weakens that stable as a whole, and it weakens the standing of everybody that's under him because they're fools for following somebody who is so brazen.
That's a really good point.
So I think for that reason, Chris Jericho is going to win, but he's going to cheat to win. And so this is going to lead to a bit of ructions, and it means that Cody is given a fair chance.
Okay.
Although this is the match being contested with judges, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, if there's
the judges will somehow do a three-way draw, and everybody will cry and hug, and Meltzer will just have a bag of stars.
that action there. There you go. I'm gonna go for Jericho as well, but I don't really know how it's gonna pan out. It's in wrestling, so they never have to. Obviously, they rarely stick to an actual stipulation.
Yeah.
Like a retirement stipulation or a loser leaves town stipulation or whatever. But this one, because it's coming so early in the company's history, I think if Cody does lose, I reckon they'll stick to it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Unless, like you say, there's some sort of way of sneaking around in some kind of loophole.
Yeah.
Which I think could be a War Games match for the right to challenge again.
Oh, it could be.
Or not actually called War Games, but you know.
Game Wars.
Yes, that's what Matthew said on the podcast today. I'm going to go for Jericho, though, because I agree with your point was really good about how a loss for him weakens the whole stable of heels around him. And also, I think that he's just been killing it as champion.
Yeah,
like he's been so good.
Everything he does is a meme. Like, look at that little hype package.
That was so good.
With Virgil, it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, it was.
But
I think that, and also there was a line on commentary where I think it said after Full Gear, the champion's going to be on like NBA, like the recap show or whatever with Shaquille O'Neal and all this sort of stuff. And I thought, who, like Jericho or Cody? And obviously Cody's a big name in wrestling, but he's not as big as Jericho.
Yeah.
And that has also prevented me from going against Chris Jericho. So I'm going to go for him as well. But my heart wants Cody to win a lot. I'd love to see that.
I think, again, it's one of those situations where I'd rather it be like a long fought thing. And then when he finally does win it, he can't then be accused of immediately booking himself to be champion, for one.
Yeah.
And two, it's going to mean so much more to the fans.
Yeah, that makes sense too. It's a match, it might be the one I'm most looking forward to just because of the ramifications.
Yeah. And finally, we have the unsanctioned match going on probably after the show between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Jack, who have you got and why?
Jon Moxley. Now, I'm going for Jon Moxley because I feel like he can be the next big challenger if Jericho retains the belt.
Yeah.
We've seen them feud in WWE before, but this is a whole different Jericho and a whole different Moxley.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really good to see, because the Cody feud's been cool. We've seen Jericho, if he beats him here, we've seen him defeat the Golden Boy that everyone loves and stuff. Now he's got to try and beat like the Austin, like the anti-authoritarian, like the crazy wild guy. And I think that Moxley would be really good at getting the crowd behind him. I think whoever wins this match has a clear path to be the next number one contender. And I just think that Moxley is more of a fresh matchup as well than Omega is, because Omega and Jericho had that match way back at Double or Nothing it was. So I feel like Moxley's going to win and then progress into a feud with Jericho. But what do you think?
Echoing your sentiments, I think I'm going to go for Jon Moxley. Pretty much everything you said, but this is his wheelhouse as well. Like,
yeah,
he's not just like, he's a very good wrestler, but he's known for being violent. He's known for being a bit off the hook.
Yeah.
So I think this lends itself very well to him. Kenny's going to give a hell of a match here. I think it's going to be unbelievable, and both guys are going to do something crazy at one point. But I think Moxley has to win it. In my head, the only way I can see him losing it is if he just refuses to tap and does the Austin.
Okay.
Just blacks out.
That would be really good as well.
Yeah.
But I agree with you in that Moxley, it's very much his sort of thing, and he has to win. And it would feel a lot fresher if he won, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've differed on one. It's going to be big. It all comes down to the Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz, which, to be honest with you, even though it's going to be a good match, was one of the ones I was least invested in. But now I'm like, it's big. Yeah. And potential other matches added to the card as well, I suppose, too. Thank you very much for watching our predictions. Once again, if I lose, then I have to join Sam for his Night in the Woods Part 2. If Sam loses, then his Night in the Woods becomes somehow worse. We'll think of 3 options and we'll put it to you, the fans, on patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can then vote for your favourite option. I can't think of anything else to say.
Full gear.
Full gear. Join us after Saturday when we'll react to the thing, and then we'll put it out, cars and gear changes and that. Let's go. Full gear.
Fast lane.
Full gear. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter @Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.